right, Sanbonan Bafwit. I have a few requests today. I am starting one of a number of series I will be doing over the year, which is pleading young people to register to vote and to vote in 2024, the importance of voting, and how we can actually get more involved in changing the course of our country and the direction in which it is heading. Um, so I know that there are young people my age and below who feel like politics is just not their thing. Feel like especially South African politics, they're very tiring, they're very exhausting, they're very toxic. Staying away is not really a bad thing, but at the same time, that's really not an option, especially if you're living in South Africa today and you're seeing what's happening. Nothing's working. We are actually on like it's a movie, as that guy Lamini guy said. We're living in a movie. It's a serious situation, and it needs every single human being in South Africa, every single citizen of voting age, to fully understand the seriousness of the situation in which we find ourselves, from a corrupt, incompetent, mafia-styled government, um, filled with criminals and thugs, who call themselves revolutionaries and stuff like that. We have to be very aware of that situation. We have a job in 2024. We have a job. And it's calling us. You have a calling in 2024. It's calling us. You cannot be interested. You cannot be doing nothing. You have to go out and vote. Register to vote. The IEC has opened its processes to register new voters. Please go and register to vote. 2024 is a big scene. It will be a big scene. It's a historical event. It's a symbol of 30 years of our democracy. And we need to do what those people in 1994 did. Obviously, they never knew that things would turn the way they did turn, but it is important that that event of 1994, those lines, long lines you saw of people who had never voted before, who had hope, who had high, hopes and expectations of what they were electing into government, that should be us. We need to renew our hope to bring something new, as they did. When they brought something new, when they brought the ANC into power in 1994, they didn't know this is what was going to happen at all. But they had hope of bringing something new, a new country, a new government that would respect their rights, that would govern them with dignity, pride, and patriotic diligence, and you name all the good things. Those are the hopes they had. There's nothing wrong with the hopes and expectations they had in 1994. There's nothing. What is wrong is what the ANC did with those hopes, dreams, and that potential, that opportunity that they were given to make South Africa one of the greatest countries on the world. They fucked it up. It's not the fault of those people who voted in 1994. And equally so, we have a job that those people in 1994 did. People who never knew how to vote, people who were had never seen a school or completed a school, primary or secondary education. They knew the importance of what they were doing in 1994, and they went out and voted. To a certain extent, I think we're too spoiled, but there's nothing I can do about that. But I'm pleading with young people my age and younger to say, hey, please get your act right. You don't like politics, fine. I don't have a problem with that, but don't abandon one of your biggest responsibilities as a citizen of a democratic country. Voting is a responsibility of every single citizen of a democratic society. If you live in a democracy, voting is a huge responsibility, because you've been afforded it as a right. And it's your responsibility to meet that right and exercise it, right? There are many people who have never, the people who came before us, as us born frees, many of them spent most of their lives without that right to vote. So it is important to be fully aware of that scenario. Fully aware. So let us register to vote, please. And number two, if do your research on political parties. Don't listen to what people are saying in the streets. Well, you can listen to people's opinion, but don't take them, as the sole, contributors to how you decide how you're going to vote in 2024. Do your research. You know, I come from a township of mostly black township. Well, townships are hugely black, but township. I come from a township, and there was this rumor or the standard knowledge that we had, which was, I'm making an example, which was the DA is, if the DA is elected into power, they'll bring back apartheid. Because it's a child of the National Party, you know. And when I started my own research, the DA is the only organization I've researched so far. I'm not bothering myself with the ANC, please. I am not stupid. I am not ignorant. I'm very aware of my country and where it is and what it needs and what it does not need. And it does not need specifically the ANC government. That is the honest truth there. If you think otherwise, shame and king, but people who are sensible, at least they have an average working brain cells, they will tell you South Africa does not need the ANC. The ANC is killing South Africa. It's a cancer that is killing our society, our country, our beautiful country. It is killing it. Right? So that is one part. Just study your political parties. So that was the concept I had when I was growing up about the DA. I do my research. It's not the child of the National Party. That there's a time where the National Party is involved in alliances and Abazard in the year 2000 or so, and the withdrawal of the NP, emerging with the ANC, all that history. But that you can only get it when you sit down, open your phone instead of going to Facebook and posting memes or whatever these social media accounts you have. Just go on Google and research. Go to their pages, the DA page, research their history. Go to credible sources. You can go to Google Scholar. Just research your political parties, research their policies, their constitution, what they stand for, their values, their principles, and see if those principles and values align with the Freedom Charter of the country, and as well as the constitution of the country. I've done DA. In terms of my research, I've studied my research. I don't agree with many of their policies. I don't agree with many of the people they have in their leadership. I think the DA needs a lot of rethinking in terms of who they let speak in their party in public, but that's not my problem. But I know that, I'm weighing now. I'm in a situation where I'm weighing the positive and negatives of voting DA in 2024, right? So I'm now moving on to Action SA. By the way, these parties that I'm mentioning that I'm researching, most of them are either right wing, like Action SA, or liberal, like the DA, or liberal like Build One South Africa, right? The parties who call themselves centrists for whatever reason. But as a person, as a human being, or as a black South African coming from a low income working class family, I at the heart, at the center of my heart is democratic socialism. I align myself with the ideals of, the rights of working class people. I align with myself with social justice. I align myself with environmental justice. I align with myself with economic justice. I align myself with, a democratic economy, democratic working spaces. I align myself with worker-owned cooperative dominating the economy. I align myself with working-class people having a say in the direction of the economy. And not only billionaires get to do that, and politicians, right? So at the heart of that, it's that young kid who grew up from a low-income, working-class family who has these values. But the issue here is I have to be pragmatic, which is one thing I'm pleading all South Africans as well to be. Be pragmatic. Be realistic. That is what I mean. Being realistic. That's what being pragmatic is. And when you are realistic, you are able to find realistic solutions. And many of these countries which we align with our ideology, whether democratic socialism or communism, countries like uh, Vietnam or People's Republic of China at some point became pragmatic to say, okay, we are ideological. Yes, this is the ideology we follow, but we have to be realistic. We have to be pragmatic. We have to open the economy. And that's what they did. They became pragmatic. They opened their economy. They're still very ideological, and I feel we can be. The biggest job here is, remember, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white. The cat, as long as it catches the mouse, job done. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of mentality we need to have as South Africans, especially young South Africans, especially young black South Africans. I know we are bound by ideology, but please be realistic at the same time, so that you are able to be pragmatic at certain situations, especially in 2024. I look at integrity and ethics. I think that the fight or the battle for South Africa's soul in 2024 is less an issue of ideology, but more of an issue of, do we elect into government institution or into government ethical leadership with huge levels of integrity, or do we elect criminals? I think that's the biggest fight. I think that's the biggest battle. I'm less concerned about ideology. I'm more concerned about integrity and ethical leadership. If we continue on the path we are on, bound by ideology no matter what, and elect criminals because they speak the same language we do, that's going to be a problem in terms of the state of the country. So let's please be realistic. When you vote in 2024, be careful on who you vote for. Be realistic in terms of what the country needs, not only what you feel is right because that's what your ideology dictates. I'll continue fighting for working class people, even in a heavily capitalist country, but not the ANC. Out with